much, Morgan. My name is Richard Garza. I am with Divinity Family Services. What we are is what's called a child placement agency, and I'm sure everybody has heard, CPA, child placement agency. Our main office, and I hate to say main office because we are everywhere. It's in Kerrville, and that's where we serve Region 8, which means it's San Antonio, Bexar County is our largest amount of families that we have and the largest amount of children that we have as well. But we also serve everywhere else. If you can think of the city, hopefully that we're going to be there. We have gone as far west as to Del Rio and Eagle Pass. We have gone as far south as close to Laredo, and now we're going as far east as you guys. So thank you very much for having me here today and allow me to have more of what I would like to have is more of a forum that we can speak some of the issues that we have, some of the issues that you have. I would love to know what that is. The reason is that we do want to be your child placement agency of choice. And give us a shot. Once we talk here, maybe we can come up with some ideas on how we can best serve our families. Again, my name is Richard. You can call me Rick as well if you feel more comfortable with that. A little bit about myself before we get into the important stuff. I was a CASA worker at one time. I retired from what's now AT&T when AT&T was at the corporation there in San Antonio. I'm not ashamed of just sharing a little bit of my things that happened in my life, but I was a single parent for a long time, 3 boys. At one time, and everything was going great. And at one time they decided that they want to go with their mom. That was very difficult for me. The youngest child at that point was 12 years of age. So that's pretty much the age of consent. So I did consent for them to go with their mom, but also with the grandmother. There was drug issues involved. So I was really concerned about doing that. The reason I say that is that right after that, in my bit of depression, somebody mentioned CASA. We had a newsletter there at AT&T saying that they're looking for CASA volunteers. And I remember it well. It was CASA, and it was junior achievement also that they were asking for volunteers from. And somebody said, let's go. And I did. And I can say that CASA really saved me. I felt that I was doing something worthwhile for children, still seeing my kids very often, but I just felt that I was doing something worthwhile for children. So I have a lot to thank CASA for, because that 1 year that I was with CASA, that was one of the happiest times of my life and something that I could share with everybody else. What that led me to is that I was completing about 25 years with AT&T, and it gave me a chance. Well, they told me, hey, Mr. Garza, it might be time for you to retire. And I said, no, not really. I want to spend a few more years here. But they came and said, well, no, you really should retire. Here's what we're giving you. And that's when you get the hint that these corporations don't want you anymore. They want the younger people, which I understood. But that gave me a chance to go to CPS and work there. Again, it was the idea of giving and the idea of helping, which I really enjoyed. What I did at CPS is that I worked what's called the PMC cases, where these are the children that the rights of the parents have been terminated, but we're not finding families for them. One of the things that I did was, in terms of recruitment, I did a lot of the TARE narratives that you see. I look at TARE quite often, and I see that these TARE narratives are pretty much the same. So I'm very happy to see that there is a TARE. Unfortunately, I see all the disparity that we have with the African Americans and the Hispanics, and a lot of special needs children that are there. But it was one of the things that I really enjoyed working on was with TARE. I worked as a case manager with the drug enforcement there with CPS. It was called Drug Court with Judge Sakai in Bexar County, which was a real thrill as well, because you could see some of these people that are heroin addicts and lots of meth addicts, and they're turning their life around. And that's who we work with as well. The biggest thrill that I had, the biggest enjoyment that I had was working as a legal supervisor for my last 3 years before I retired. I enjoyed that. One of the things that we work with and who we work with is with you guys. Again, I don't see how CPS can do without you guys at all. I really enjoyed y'all in the sense that anytime there were changes in the cases, changes of caseworkers, changes of supervisors, one constant was always the CASA worker. It was always that same CASA worker, no matter what the changes were with the cases. So thank you for that. I feel very comfortable being here because one of the things that I did when I did pride training as well. And I did pride training for the outlying areas outside of Bexar County. And I would say about 80% of my time was spent here in Victoria. So I love the people here. They are real people, they are good people, and they're very enjoyable people. So thank you for having me. I'm gonna start just showing a video. It's 12 minutes, and it's something that we all can relate to. It's a little dark in some places, but you'll be able to get the gist.
Sometimes someone hurts you so bad. It stops hurting at all. Until something makes you feel good. And then it all comes back. Every word. Every hurt. Every moment. How could you ever understand where I come from? Even if you ask, even if you listen, you do not really hear or see or feel. You don't remember my story. You haven't walked my path. You haven't seen what I've seen. My past defines me. This is who I am. I am unseen, unheard, unwanted. That is what I am. If even I am anything. seemed like the same thing that held me up forced me down. The world turned upside down and order disappeared. Nothing was how it was supposed to be. And a heavy sadness filled my soul. Deeper and deeper I fell within myself. And nothing could draw me out. Trapped in the misery of my life. Lost in the sorrow of my soul. Unable to see the light. Unable to see the dawn. To feel. To hope. To dream. And I found the darkest days of my life kept coming. The blackest nights for my soul never stopped. It seemed like it was always nighttime and nightmares, and never morning. And maybe you wonder why, but mostly you try not to think about it. And try to get by, and try to survive. And all the other stuff seems so much like nothing, compared to just wanting the most important things back again. Like wishing you could see your mama's smile again, and hear her sing that one favorite song that always calmed you down when things were all messed up. Or if you couldn't have her back, at least get to take care of your baby brother. Cause you know he needs you. He's gonna be so scared all alone. And who's gonna hold his hand and whisper it'll be alright to him? And who will whisper it to me?
So good to have you here.
I know I am helpless, dependent, desperate. But what happens when those you need the most threaten your very existence? I've heard plenty of promises, and they all sound the same. Push hard enough, and sooner or later, they all prove to be empty. The sun comes up every morning, but do you know where? Each place it's somewhere different. It's hard to find east when you keep moving around, but at least it comes. It always comes. I've come to depend on that. And slowly seasons changed around me. And it seemed this time that maybe the world would not be pulled out from under me again. Feet safe, roots starting to grow. Little buds of hope forming. Slowly attempting to trust this new life.
Okay, come on over. Let me show you what I got for you. It's your gift.
I wish someone would tell me it's going to be okay. That one day, maybe, I feel normal. And I won't always be the one. That I'll have a mommy who will hug me and be strong for me. Because maybe I can't do it all by myself. This, my past, my history, my story, is not my fault. It's not because of me. It doesn't have to be what defines my future. I am lovable. I am worthy of care. And that glimmer of light, it makes all the difference. The glimmers of light give me hope that someday my summer will come.
It's pretty powerful what we just saw right now, but I know that's something that you see quite often. Uh, So just the question, how many legal cases do we have right now that each of you are working on? And is that something that y'all can relate to as well? Yes, you see that pretty often. I know working here in Victoria, these are some of the harder cases. I remember, and this was 10 years ago, wow, more than that, 12, 13 years ago, that when I was doing the trainings here, one of the issues was methamphetamines. It looks like methamphetamines hit here before it did in San Antonio. Methamphetamines were in the smaller areas population areas than it was in the larger, and that's where it started. And it's a tough thing. Working in the legal unit, what I always saw was primarily methamphetamines that the families that the issue was, but along with meth, there was always been domestic violence as well. And you see that this child and both of them, even the younger child, are a product of that. So one of the things I always show the some of the people that I work with and work for is what I have here. And I think we see that in the video. Kids who need the most love will ask for it in the most unloving of ways. And that is huge. And that's something that I think we all need to understand. I know you do. CPS has a harder time understanding that. But hopefully we can all understand what that is, what that represents. I want to show you another video. Let's see her put this a little bit louder. It wasn't as loud, right? I hope everybody can hear this. And this is us. This is Divinity.
We started our foster adopt journey in 2006. We, at that time, found out that we couldn't have children, and we went through the process and adopted our oldest son privately. I feel like once the Lord places foster care on your heart, He doesn't ever take it away, right? And He just keeps peppering you with it. We got a phone call about a baby. And as I asked more about the story of, like, you know, what's the deal? Well, there were three more children that were part of the story.
They had not had a stable environment for a long time.
If ever.
And
I don't think they ever did.
If ever. I don't think that they've ever had a place to stable enough to even have a pillow that was considered their own.
They had never had a home. They had never had a bed. They had never had a bedtime.
They came to us at 4, 6, and 7, and years of age, and nobody could. I don't think they knew how to use a toothbrush. They didn't. Nobody could count to 10. Couldn't sing their ABCs. They couldn't tell you the first letter of their name.
I ended up, through mutual friends, finding out about Divinity. And so I contacted them through this whole process, and they walked us through the process, and they, you know, helped us go through all of the paperwork, all of the hoops that you have to jump through in order to get certified to do this. And long story short, they got us licensed in record time, and our kids were placed with us like a month later. So, I mean, it was a whirlwind of you know, phone calls, and then, you know, getting that original phone call, and then, you know, calling Divinity and explaining the situation to them, and them, you know, really moving mountains so we could make this happen in the time that we needed it to happen in.
Divinity Family Services, we're a child placing agency, and the main services that we provide are finding, recruiting, training foster homes, and licensing those families to receive children in to their home to care for them while they're displaced from their biological family, until they can either return home or achieve permanency through adoption or something along those lines.
You know, we serve 150-mile radius of Kerrville. That's what we're licensed to do. And I think we have roughly 350 kids in our care, in our homes, almost 300 families. And of those, I would say about 80% are kinship families that we serve.
it's a very, very difficult process to go through. There's so many different parts to it that people may not even be aware of. And so that's where we come in. We try to help them through that process, make it efficient.
I think that the state does the best that they can. And I think that they set, the laws and the rules, but what the state doesn't have is they don't necessarily have a platform to serve. And so where we're able to come in is we're able to provide that service to help the family get to where they need to be to be able to take care of the kids and get to the end of their case.
I would call the need for families to care for children, it's huge. I would call it an epidemic. There are more children coming into care in our state, in our community, and in the Hill Country every year than the previous year. And it's a growing problem. And it's a problem that if we don't continue to find wonderful, loving people to help provide homes for these children, we're going to be in a shortage. In the state, the Hill Country included, is in a shortage. There's not enough foster homes for these children.
And foster care is very much about standing in the gap, right? That you're going to stand in the gap for these children, and you're going to speak up, and you are going to advocate for them, the same way Christ advocates for you, right? And part of that process is being with an agency that understands that. They understood that we are advocating for these children, and they advocated for us and helped us through that process.
And it's hard to see from an outside point of view that when you are fostering, you are standing in that gap for that child. You are advocating for them, and it's when you're doing that, like, you want to have somebody that's going to actually understand, sympathize, and empathize with your situation and stand in the gap for you.
I hope you enjoyed that. What you saw is the two owners of Divinity Family Services. That was Randy Rose and Anna Pruitt. That video was done about 1.5 years ago. And they talk about that we have 500 children. We're up to about close to 800 children now. We are in San Antonio, Bexar County. We handle all of Region 8. Hopefully we can service you as well. But we're in Austin. I was the team lead there in Austin for about 1.5 years, and we continue to grow there, and in Waco. And now we're in Dallas-Fort Worth as well. The good thing about Divinity is that usually CPS asks us to open up an office there. And why is that? As you heard Anna, is that we have, can I move around? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Regina, I'm so sorry.
You're good. No, you're good.
I'm a people person. I'm so sorry. So I don't want to keep everybody low. But what Anna was talking about also is that 80% of the children that we have, of the families that we have, are kinship families. There's child placement agencies, and they do a great job. But there are a lot of child placement agencies that want to go for the low-hanging fruit, as they say, the easier ones, the well-educated people that can easily pass their license. Well, Divinity says we'll never say no to anybody. One of the models that we have is getting to yes. And that's not only us, the workers that with Divinity, but it's also with the families. We will help the families with plumbing. We've helped the family with roofing. Anything that there is needed for them to get a license, Divinity will spend their money in helping these families, especially with the kinship families, because they're the ones with the most need, right? And we see that. I'm sure a lot of your caseload are kinship as well. Am I right? Yeah. So we are there to help these people out. Again, one of our models is getting to yes. We also say that we have a servant's heart. So what that means is that we are Christ-centered and God-centered. I'm not ashamed at all to say that, but what we do also is that we want to serve God's children as well, whether they're 70 years of age or if they're just 7 days old. We want to help these people because that's our mission as well. And it works out well. Another thing just for me to point out also, and I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Another thing for me to point out as well is that we are here to serve everybody, every family. One of my best friends is a same-sex couple that's in Marble Falls. And I say that they're my best friends because when I was case managing, I would go to Marble Falls often. Shows how much windshield time that we have. But it also says something about us as well, is that everybody's God's children, no matter what. And we want to serve these people because these people, these families are serving these children. And that's the bottom line, right? Is that we help these people out. I'm sure that you see quite a number of kids that are not with family and that they certainly should be. One of the things also that we stress is that we stress reunification. Just as you, one of the questions that I have for Regina this morning is what is the reunification rate here? Come on in, sir. Hi. One of the things that we always stress is reunification, is that we're here for reunification. Any child placement agency will say that they make their monies in adoption. Rightly so, we get that. But we also feel that children belong with family. They belong with the parents. Any child would want that. You saw the child here and how she reacted in being taken away from the family, as you see often as well. So our job is to work towards reunification. And if not, that's fine. We help with the adoption, but also there's quite often that we see that PMC is the best route to go. And we know the PMC process very well. One of the jobs that I had when I was doing the Pride training was Fostering Connections first came into existence, which was about 13, 15 years ago now, more or less. And that's why I was doing the Pride training here in town. At the same time that Fostering Connections showed up, which is the first time that kinship families can become licensed to be a foster adopt family, which is huge. Before that, the kinship, the kinship families, the only monies that they qualified for was that $1,000 to $1,500 one-time payment. And here came Fostering Connections. And now we're able to license these people. The point is that number one, we're always going to help this family as much as possible. We will never turn a family down. Of course, if they cannot pass the criminal history or anything that happens, no, we cannot help them. I mean, that's just minimum standards. But keep in mind, if they need help with anything, even at one time, we helped the family out with a vehicle. It was a single mom that was out in Round Rock, Texas. She had 2 children of her own, and this was a fictive kin being that she knew the 4 children, but she was not relative to them. So we were able to place the children there in her home, but she needed a larger vehicle. She had a small sedan. We actually gave her an SUV, but that was too small for her. So we were able to give her $1,000 down payment for a Suburban. So we go that far. We don't ask for monies. I'm trying to go to different places now to see if we can get grants and such for that. But again, we are never going to turn anybody down. Is there any questions that you might have at this point? Yes, ma'am.
What is your service region?
Everywhere and anywhere.
Oh, okay, like Skidmore, just somebody be able to get licensed.
Yeah, if somebody needs a license here, one of the things that Anna brought out is that we serve a 150-mile radius from Kerrville, but we also serve a 150-mile radius from Austin. So we figured that between Austin and Victoria, as the crow flies, it go from point A to point B, not going 59 in all sorts of ways, but from point A to point B is less than 130 miles. So we're able to do that. Now, if it's more than 150 miles and there's no other child placement agency that wants to serve these families, we will ask for a variance, okay? And we're very good at asking for variances. Again, there are some child placement agencies, and I say this apologetically, I'm not bragging about ourselves, but we do this, is that there are some child placement agencies that will not ask for variances. We do. It's like we have a variance department really that will ask for that. Quite a number of families have variances because of the size of the home that they have. Again, 80% of our families is kinship. So a lot of variances are asked. And some or the other, they know us in state office and we're able to get replies on these variances pretty quickly. So we have very good success in regards to variances concerned.
When you talk about reunification rate, and you're for that, which is outstanding, because that's what we want to.
Absolutely.
How much training goes into the importance of the family connections and
Quite a bit.
how important reunification is for those children?
Quite a bit. As far as training is concerned, our what we call our pride trainings, we're used to calling that pride trainings. We have our Saturday trainings, and it's via Zoom. It'll start from 9 o'clock in the morning and go on till 4 o'clock. It's a long day, but we have breaks as well. And we continue to have that with Zoom because of COVID. One of the things that's covered and is covered quite in detail, and people pay attention to this, is that we have two TBRI trainers that are experts in this. They've taken the full training. So they offer training in TBRI, but if there are families that feel that they need more training, there's some discipline problems in the home, we will send these TPRI, I forget what the term is, I'll call them experts, to go to the home, give them calls. And sometimes it's just, I remember one time it was just praying for the family, and that really helped them out as well. So we never let go of the families. Formal trainings, there's a lot of training that's minimum standards. So it goes above and beyond what CPS gives. I'm sure you have a lot of training that CASA that you get as well, thank God. That's one of the best trainings that I get too. But we also give trainings. And if there's families that feel that they need more training because of discipline problems, if there's issues with biological parents, we are there not just with training, but also advocating for the families. One of the things that I enjoy, I hope that answers the question, Pamela. It does, thank you. So yeah, there is training, there's formal training, there's informal training. We have a lot of our case managers that have CPS expertise, me being one of them, is that we're able to help these families out, maybe not legally, but we definitely advocate for the families. We want to get on these Zoom calls when there's court hearings, whether it be up from 262 all the way to the merits hearing. We want to be part of that hearing as well. We love our relationships that we have with CASA. We have a very good relationship with CASA in Austin, and CASA in San Antonio, and we're getting one also in Dallas and Fort Worth. And we want that here as well. The reason being is that if we're here advocating for reunification primarily, that's a bond that we need to have with you guys as well. So I hope that answers the questions. I hope that answers the question that y'all might have in regards to that.
I think at the end of the day, not all the time, but sometimes, and it's a little concerning, is that if you have an unrelated foster family, that isn't necessarily willing or, well, I don't know, interested or willing, I don't know which one it is, in trying to keep that connection or connecting with the family. And I can understand how people would be standoffish, they're a little concerned for, safety or privacy or whatever the reasons are. But I try to encourage our foster families to connect in some way with parents, whether it's letter writing or whatever it is, because if those parents feel that those foster parents haven't taken ownership of those children, they're more likely to continue participating actively in their services if they feel like there's not somebody that's there that's like, well, I'm taking care of these children now and maybe they're going to be mine in the future,
And that's covered.
That makes sense. But.
Oh, no, very much so. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think one of the trainings that we have is that when we say what foster is, it's not fostering the children, it's fostering the family.
Right.
And that's what it should be. Fostering should be fostering reunification. And that's brought up in our training as well. Is that, first of all, any licensed foster parent, whether it be non-kinship or kinship, you have the responsibility of taking that child to school, taking him to the doctor. But even more important, just as important, you have to take this child to the parent-child visits. And we have training in regards to what you say before the parent-child visits, what you say after the parent-child visits, and what you should do during the parent-child visits as well. I think one of the issues that I kind of enjoy, and usually the biological parents hate this, is that it's just a natural migration for that child, for that foster child, to start calling the foster parents mom and dad. I enjoy that. And the reason that I do that is that finding this child is in a home where it's stable, where they're loved, where there is routine. And that child has just the natural evolution of just calling these foster parents, kinship or non-kinship. They're gonna say that these parents, they're gonna start calling mom and dad, which I enjoy. Biological parents don't, but if they get it, if we can explain whether it be CPS or the Divinity case manager, let's do it. Let's do it. Is that good?
That's a disconnect there. I've had a mom hear children call up and I'm going to
Yeah.
their mom or dad, and it shook her really bad. You know,
It
I mean,
does.
it hurt her. She's mom, you know.
Yeah.
But if they have some sort of relationship, you know, any loving woman caring for the child primarily every day could be mom. I mean, it's just a motherly role, not that she's their actual mother. But just trying to like connect those two together. Because even in that case, they, the children had nicknames, you know, very just given to them by their parents from birth, and even their siblings called them that, but the foster parents didn't like the nicknames, and so they started calling them something different.
Yeah.
And so now when the children, the older children or the parents call them by those nicknames, they say, no, my name is so-and-so.
Yeah.
And it kind of hurts the parents in that way too. I don't like nicknames, I prefer, I call all my kids by their given name, just,
Mhm.
you know.
Those are tough calls, and one of the things that I enjoy and that I really push for also are family group conferences. Getting the families together, and this is the foster families and also the biological families as well. Getting them together and coming up with some understanding. They're not going to like each other, because how many times have kinship families have fallen apart because these children have been brought up by a relative. That happens quite often. But I think with family group conferences, something that I always advocate is at least you can have some kind of understanding going forward. And with that understanding, there's going to be some direction going forward as well. I think that's one of the things that I always push for is these family group conferences. They might not always work, but when somebody leaves, there's that direction.
That's what I would do.
Yes, sir.
You advocating for conversation with family, foster family.
Yes, sir.
I like to call it nickname, we don't like to call it nickname. So that I put the children in the middle of this, but when I'm over here, I'm not gonna call over here, and you tell me, oh, you over here to the story. Now, if foster parents that have an idea, they probably know they got the children later on. And if they don't, you take them right back to where they are. That's a re-education they have to go through again.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna get into that changing names or whatever, I suggest that you have a conference with the individual parent, because it becomes all about them and not about the children.
Yeah.
I see, my main concern is about the children's emotion, you know, because now you start to play an advocate of being emotionally manipulative
Sure.
of children.
Yes,
So
sir.
you have to watch that, because depending on what stage the children are in, what they're going through, some cannot handle that, and you push it off to the front edge. And according to the therapist, the psychologists are going through, you're gonna have you hard time deciding, but I would prefer you don't do that.
Mhm.
Because all you're doing is asking for a competition, but we try to get back to your natural parent. Now, they got a problem over here, so all you're gonna add to that problem.
Yeah. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yes, I get it. I don't have an answer, but
I don't.
I'm sorry, I came in so late. I'm like, okay.
No, but you bring up a very good point, is that should we, here's a point also, is that there was a family that I had in Region 7, that's the Austin area. And that was one of my cases. And the kids were named Donatello and whatever the other Ninja Turtle is. And the biological parents wanted to leave their names as Donatello, and they were headed towards reunification. And the foster mom, a kinship foster mom, was a cousin, said, well, that's embarrassing them at school. But bio parents wanted that child to have that name still as Donatello. All right, we're headed towards reunification. So yeah, it should be Donatello. So that's a point that I think that needs to be covered in our training as well. I think that would be the answer, right? Is that be careful with that, because maybe, and we see this quite often, biological parents aren't doing their services, and here comes a five month, and we're going to trial, right, on that permanency hearing, on that review. The judge is admonishing the parents is that you better get your stuff together because you only have 4 more months and these kids are gone. And they start getting their act together, they're doing their services. And here's Donatello being called Don, and then he's gonna go back home and be being called Donatello again. Good point, sir. And that's something I'll definitely remember to bring that up, so thank you. You feel good about that?
Yeah, you know, I haven't been in a lot of situations, you know, when they okay, but not okay. It's okay, something there was not okay. So where do you find the difference? Try to have a great line. Sometimes the situation is that we don't have a great line, either yes or no. Either right or wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, you don't need to try to make a great line. Like you said, you have to set a guideline. This is what's going to be. No good about. And then when they get to understand, sometimes you don't have a choice about that. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
Then they have to adapt to that. Instead of putting a child in that, we all advocate like, I don't want to put people no more emotional crisis than they have to go through. These children, we should set an example of how life is, how it should be. It's not always simple. Parents, I can't control what they do, what they think. Like you said, they don't want to do the service hours, then they're going to do the children have service hours, so we have to say, now they start getting together. And I was like, hey, well, we need to make this, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not always that nice and kind about that.
Good.
Because I always tell, when I spoke to children, the same thing. You can tell me anything, but I'm from Missouri. Show me things. Your action tells me everything. You know, I don't need to tell me anything. Just do what you're supposed to do, and I can believe that myself. But like beginners, you say anything else. Sometimes I believe it. You lie to me the whole time. But while you lie to me, what you're doing is telling me the opposite. So you said one thing, but your actions tell me another thing. And that's constantly what we get from our parents out here doing their service. You know, you tell me this, and CPS telling me obviously completely when they get a report there. You say you're clean, they tell me that you're not clean. So how am I going to take that your word? I tell you, you lied to me once, you lied to me twice, I'm going to make a mistake.
I think that's the biggest issue we have around here is trying to get all of the moving parts working together. So a big question that we might all have for you is, what is the best resource that we can get from you to help with our cases here?
More than anything else, I would say would be communication. One of the things that we strive for and we do is that we know who CASA is and we know the leverage that CASA has. CASA in Region 7, you guys are gals there. You are the guardian ad litem. So that's a lot of leverage that you have. And you do? Awesome. I love that. Love that. So it just shows all the leverage that you have and the appreciation that we have. Can't talk for the other child placement agencies, but the appreciation that we have for you guys is that we're going to communicate with you as much as we possibly can. We have a good relationship with you guys. And I think that communication is more important than anything else. But trying to get others, therefore, I think that family group conference, again, is something that I always advocated because I know it works. Of course, it's garbage in, garbage out, how much people are talking in these family group conferences. But you'll have Divinity Family Services there, you have CASA there, and you'll have these people advocating for the children.
Do you have a lot of foster parents, related or unrelated, that are willing to participate in those family group conferences?
Yeah. The families, yes. Now, how quickly that we can get CPS to get us a family group conference might be something different. And again, it's region by region sometimes, and sometimes it's supervisor by supervisor.
With
But
our collaborative family engagement that we've rolled out here,
yeah,
it's easy for us to get a meeting if we ask for it.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Paying more attention to those. I think that the whole bit is about communication and how we can communicate well. And if you have a strong voice with your child placement agency, you being a strong voice for the child and for the family, that's a lot in itself there. I know you guys are very strong here in the Victoria area. So use it, and use us as well. If we become part of your case. Does that make sense?
I didn't have a question, I just had a comment.
Please.
Of course, I've only been doing this 10 years,
That's it.
and I have not seen reunification in a case that I've ever had. And I've only had one case that it was kinship placement. All the rest of them have been non-kinship.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just because I picked unusual cases or what, but
Or they gave you the unusual cases. More.
You get the hard ones, Bobby, because you know how to work them. I did have 2 reunifications last week. I sent 5 kids home last week.
you what?
5 kids went home last week off my caseload.
Woo, woo. That's great.
Congratulations.
So yes, you pick the really, really hard ones and you work them so well that we're just gonna keep throwing them at you.
Well, I still have to go back and look on July the 3rd, when Jack Moore, I had adoption, and the judge, Jack. And he said, well, Ms. Glenn, what do you have to say? And I said, Judge, we've been on this case 5 years and six months. And he said, I was young back then. And I said, so was I. And I've only had, all of my cases, I've only had, like I said, one kinship adoption, all the rest of them not.
It's unfortunate because what I see, and I'm talking about reunification, right? I would say that our reunification rate, I'm just throwing this out because we haven't done I haven't done the numbers. I would say it's about 25%, which is probably about the state average anyway. I think state average now, they're shooting for 30%. But
As long as there's drugs involved, it's not going to be reunification.
there might be reunification, but those kids are going to come right back.
That's what's happened.
We are really hopeful that collaborative family engagement is gonna make a big difference in that number and get us to 30, above 30, and then hopefully we'll all be out of jobs.
Do we have a little bit of time that you can explain that to me in a nutshell?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're not familiar with collaborative family engagement?
I'm getting there, but I got a lot to learn.
Oh, we can definitely get you some information on it. It's wonderful. And it's something for, if your agency can let, your families know that that is something that we're doing specifically in this area. Other areas are doing it too, but that would be something important for them to know that we're doing because they play a big part in that.
Is it like family group conferencing?
It is. That's what we use those meetings for now, is the collaborative family engagement. What it is we reach out to the world and find all of the people that are connected to these children and their parents and how they can be a supportive person in that child or family's life. And sometimes they can help the parents with some things. We focus a lot on what they can do for the children to make sure that they're remaining connected to their community. Whether they get to go home, then it helps them in the future, or if they remain out of their community, at least they still have something connection with those people.
That's great.
But the foster families, whether they're related or unrelated, are a big part of that. We need them to be in order for it to be successful. So
Awesome.
we can get you all the information on it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a family group conference, but in a larger scale.
And it just goes throughout the entire, we do a ton of work in the background, we reach out to people.
Our
That's
gals
mining.
are here.
We do, yes,
Yeah.
this is our CFP team leads right here, actually, that do most of the dirty work or help us do a lot of the
Research
There's
and
a lot of
family
research
finding and
ancestry.
genealogy, and
Yeah, good
we have
stuff.
access to ancestry and everything like
I know Casey in San Antonio was doing that.
And we do it on every case.
Wow. Wow, that's great. Good stuff. Thank you. Thanks for doing that. That's a tough job too. I've seen the case mining being done, and we did it back in my CPS days, when we did it, what's called that impact. Everybody knows impact. But, garbage in, garbage out, the only thing you can go by is what's in the impact. And there wasn't much there. So that's a tough thing to do. So thank you for that.
All the information we gather is what we bring into those FGC meetings. We call them family meetings, or we have team meetings just with the professionals before a family meeting.
Uh-huh.
And that's where we unload all the information and see what can be helpful.
Yeah, and that's great. We always want to get invited to those. If you can become your child placement agency of choice, is that we always go to those. And what we do is that we advocate for the foster family. But again, our job is to be unified as much as we possibly can. We're not saying, hey, it's not our job to say this looks more like termination, or it looks more like PNC. That's not our job. Our job is to facilitate what's best for the family, and to work with CPS and work with you guys as well. And any other points that you'd like to make? And who has kinship families in their caseload right now? Oh, dear. You're happy with the foster agency that's working with you?
It's just, yeah, it's just.
And one of the things, because we have so many CPS people that work for us, is that it seems that we get more involved with our cases than what other foster agencies do. We're not just showing up and seeing the kids and that's it. I mean, like I said, we're showing up at the hearings. We're showing up for family group conferencing. If the caseworker wants us there at a certain time, we will be there. And I think that's what makes us different. And again, we're offering backpacks to the families. We're offering them school clothes as well, school uniforms, things like that. So we go above and beyond what other agencies might do, because we're not just there making sure that their toilets flush, in that sense. Does that help, knowing that?
There's no questions online. So.
I do have one other presentation that I have, but that's and maybe we can do this in some other time if you want.
Yeah, I think we should maybe possibly have an additional training where we can do not luncheon, but just an extra in-service continuing education training.
Sure, absolutely. I would like to bring our TBRI people too as well.
That would be awesome.
One other thing I want to leave you with is that we do want to be your foster agency of choice. And the reason I say that, and I'm doing this for the children as well, quite often is that what we see with children that are going to kinship families is that they're being referred to the child placement agencies quite late in the case, usually about the 4th or 5th month. What you guys do is that you get the cases a lot earlier, because I'm assuming that the judge assigns CASA at the 262.
Yes, right close. As soon.
I'm a Bexar County guy, so using that as a model. So the judge would assign CASA 99% of the time. When the children are formally removed on the 262, that's when CASA gets the case. And then CASA will assign it to one of the advocates.
We actually get it as soon as the petition is filed in Victoria County. They're not doing non-emergency removals right now, but as soon as an emergency removal is filed, we're automatically appointed to it before that hearing.
Okay, that's early. That's very early.
That's recent, last 2 years, probably, year and a half, 2 years.
Things are different in other counties, but
Uh-huh. Yeah, it is different.
Like that, but it's great county is.
That's awesome. That is great. So what I'm here to ask you is that use us. The referral just starts with a phone call. That's all. 830-890-5838. That's on our website. And what happens is that the person will answer 100% of the time. And at that point, once you make that call for that family start their kinship foster adopt license, that's assigned to one of our developers. That developer will call the family, that potential kinship family, within 24 hours. That starts the process, okay? So that means is that we're getting these families monies, $600 a month, their basic level of care. That $600 a month, we can get to that child, we can get to that family 2 to 3 months sooner than if CPS is making that referral. That makes sense? So if we get the referrals from y'all, that's going to be a whole lot sooner than CPS will give us that referral. And all it is just starting with a phone call, okay? And then once that phone call is made, it's assigned to a developer. That developer is going to call that family. That developer is saying, whatever you guys need, we're going to be here for you, okay? What we stress is customer service. It sounds kind of weird coming from a child placement agency, from a foster agency, but we stress customer service. The reason we do that is more efficient. And if it's more efficient, we're going to service our families a whole lot better than what anybody else can, a whole lot sooner than what other people can. So we stress that a whole lot. It's a phone call. That's it. Anytime that you make that call, you feel that things aren't going fast enough. Unfortunately, I do not have cards, but how do you want to work that out?
I will share your info after this, and Divinity, the website and email and all that good stuff.
Okay.
The newsletter goes out Friday. I'll have it all in there.
So that's a deal. We can cover a whole lot more, but I think that's a lot today. Is there any other questions or concerns, any cases that you want to talk about?
No.
One of the things that I do also is I get a lot of calls from case managers that are not CPS, and I make that phone call back to you. One of the things that we stress is that when you call us, when anybody calls us, we answer the phone, whether it be there in our office or if it's at the case manager's office, which is their home, we answer the phone. Another thing that we do is that we make three-way calls. So if you guys call me and we need to add another person to complete that conversation, we make those three-way calls as well. We're not saying, I'll come back with you, let me get the answer and I'll do that. So it's efficiency that we try to stress. But try us, give us a shot. When y'all guys get a case, call that 830-890-5838 number, and you're gonna have a very nice person answering the phone. That's Rebecca. If it's Spanish speaking, she will transfer that call to a Spanish speaking developer. We have Spanish speaking developers, and we have a lot of Spanish speaking case managers. So that's never gonna be the issue at all. There are people that speak Spanish, but we also have people that are DACA, that come from Mexico and know the culture. So there's never going to be an issue with that as well.
That was my next question, because I have a Spanish-speaking only family that is having trouble getting licensed.
Love it. I speak Spanish, so if somebody has to escalate anything and it's a Spanish-speaking family, I'm always happy and willing to help. And keep in mind also, if you have a family that you feel that's not going to be, cannot get their license because their home is in disrepair, hey, we're here for you. We're definitely here for you. One of the things that I'm working is I think you have ACOG in some of your counties here, and ACOG is willing to help these families even more, trying to get the whole roof repaired, not just part of it, but all of it, get plumbing repaired. They can spend thousands of dollars in helping these families out. So we're starting a collaboration with them as well. So I'm very happy about that.
Do we have that?
It's in some of the outlying areas. I'll give you those counties, but they serve 13 counties around Bexar County. I think it stretches this far. If it's not ACOG, there's other agencies that do the same. And it's for me to find them. So that's what I'm doing as well.
What is ACOG?
Animal Area Council of Governments.
Oh, so you're talking about the area agency on aging for their grandparents?
This one.
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Are they here?
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
County is represented by.
Okay.
Which is
Super.
an area agency on aging.
Yeah.
Which is part of COG.
Thank you.
I used to work there.
Oh, thank you.
I used to work in Capital Area Council.
Okay. Do you have a card?
No, I used to work, but I don't.
Okay.
That's based in Austin now. This one here is Golden Crescent Area Agency on Aging.
Okay.
Or Capital Area Council.
Charlene said in our area, it's called Area Agency on Aging
Yeah.
through Golden Crescent Regional Planning Commission.
Thank you, Shirley. And I will definitely give them a call because if they're doing that for Bear County and surrounding counties, I want this here for you guys as well. We start that collaboration with you.
We've been able to
Helping
get
yourself.
air window units for grandparents.
Awesome.
Through that agency.
Wow.
I didn't realize they did all the other things that
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have asked them.
Yeah, they have lots of monies. So yeah, we want to be part of that, helping our families out. They help families 55 and older, right?
60 and older, unless they've changed it. It's
Yeah,
always been 60 and older.
Yeah, but ACOG, their grant that they have is 55 plus.
Oh,
So that's pretty cool. So not only can we help grandparents, but there's aunts and uncles that age as well.
Well, the grandparenting program in itself might be 55 and older, I'm not sure how that works.
Uh-huh.
We had one, but I wasn't in that program.
Okay. Well, thank you. Is there anything else? I know I spent quite a lot of time here, and I want to come back.
We hope you
might
do,
do.
yeah.
I hope this helped out.
Bring your friends.
Bring your friends.
Bring your friends, I will.
I'm just brainstorming, but we're very excited to have you back. One thing I did want to mention before we lose our guests on here, we are going to tentatively right now, we think we're going to have a luncheon September 1st in person. If we do, it'll be potluck. We'll see how things are going with cases.